SpaceX has a Starship Flight 12 dilemma. Will they be able to launch fast enough? And if so, will it be enough to keep up with NASA's Artemis plans? Will Jarred Isaacman be able to help as a NASA administrator? Humanity is rapidly developing autonomous systems for the Moon and Mars. Will Europe's ExoMars ever actually fly to Mars? China's Zhu-Que 3 rocket almost became reusable on the first launch. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It, let's dive right in. Starship updates. SpaceX is in a dilemma. On the one hand, they have all the time in the world to develop their mega rocket Starship. After all, it's self-funded through Starlink and other SpaceX operations. On the other hand, they are locked into a NASA contract regarding crewed Artemis moon flights. And they are getting pressure from everywhere. Later in today's episode, I'll talk about Jarred Isaacman again, a very promising NASA administrator who might change the course of SpaceX's and NASA's history once more.
By the way, I love SpaceX. It's an amazing company. The problem is they're behind.
Current administrators, though, really aren't in favor of what SpaceX does. They want legacy companies to take over. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Aerojet Rocketdyne. They'd all love to get a bigger piece of the pie for themselves. They are involved with SLS, but the landers, they don't earn money on those. That's Blue Origin and SpaceX. SpaceX is supposed to send an HLS Starship to the moon in 2026, and they are supposed to take over a crew from an Orion capsule and take them down to the lunar surface safely. And SpaceX had its fair share of problems pretty much since Starship development started. All those problems were overcome though. From pressure tanks that didn't want to hold the pressure in, to high-altitude test starships that didn't want to belly flop, to Raptor engines that didn't want to light up reliably. Eventually, the test tanks held the pressure, the ships landed, and the Raptors are no longer an issue. So SpaceX is getting there. The question is just, is it fast enough for Artemis? There is a sobering fact. 2026 will show if Starship is fast enough. There are plenty more milestones to achieve before an HLS Starship can fly crew to the moon's surface, and if those aren't checked off in 2026, we'll simply know. The debate will be settled one way or another next year. The most important milestones for 2026 are a reliable launch performance of version 3 Starships, orbital refueling demonstrated in low Earth orbit, and some sort of HLS Starship build, including test flights. And those can all be broken down into projects with one exception, HLS. It's simply not visible anywhere. Reliable launch performance would fall onto the brand new version 3 Starship design. Booster 18 is still being picked off the test stand at Massey's. SpaceX's crews have been busy for a couple of days now, cutting it further and further down. Now the only thing left is the engine section still sitting on the test stand as I recorded this episode. It is still unknown if or how the test stand is damaged. The wet-looking spot in front of the booster after it ruptured is very likely hydraulic oil. This could be directly from the booster though. There is no visible evidence of severe damage. That's a good sign. Booster 19 continues its stacking process at a blistering pace. 3 new segments were rolled into Mega Bay 1 in 3 days. We have the A54, the CX3, and the A44. Here's an overview of what that looks like right now and on the last episode. A few days of progress and almost the entire hull is in Mega Bay 1, and it's already partly stacked as well. SpaceX is racing against time, and it is visible. In the last 2 episodes, I was busy explaining why the version 3 booster is necessary for Artemis and HLS. It's needed to understand why SpaceX is doing all this. I'll link to Tuesday's episode at the end of this one, take a look. Expect this to be stacked in the next 2 weeks. If SpaceX is really crazy, we might even see it roll out for a cryo test before the end of the year. But version 3 boosters aren't the only priority item. Version 3 is late, no doubt due to 2025 delays. Flights 6, 7, 8, and 9 didn't go very well, and SpaceX couldn't get the necessary data. Flights 10 and 11 rectified this, but late. Now all eyes are on the ships as well. Ship 39.1, the test tank for all version 3 Starships, is getting ready for its crush test. It's heavily reinforced at the aft, and SpaceX just added actuator attachment points to the can crusher. They are ready, and testing should begin in the next few days. Another giveaway is that different teams are at different stages. Ship 39, which is supposed to fly together with Booster 19 on Flight 12 in early 2026, is already stacked. They're already fleshing it out, and tests on Ship 39.1, which are supposed to inform the new design, haven't begun yet. It doesn't look like this was planned the way it's playing out. But it does look like SpaceX doesn't want to wait either. We haven't heard anything from Ship 39 in a while. It is inside Mega Bay 2. Crews are installing plumbing, raceways, and other components to get it ready for a first cryo test. I expect that test to commence immediately after the very first test with Ship 39.1. Then they should know at least enough to do a cryo test with it. Maybe also still this month, but I expect this to be shifted into January. And then there is the pad, Pad 2, the one pad SpaceX has for the version 3 Starships. This will change very soon though, we'll talk about that again in a minute. SpaceX recently removed the methane booster quick disconnect hood again. Maybe fit checks? Perhaps just another quick update before the attachment is finalized. What we can see under those hoods though looks very finished. The only real missing item is still the ship quick disconnect extender. It's still at Sanchez. It's still being worked on and hasn't been moved to the launch site either. This is complaining on a very high level though. It'll be ready in time for Booster 19's static fire. It would have likely been ready even for Booster 18. Then there are orbital refueling and HLS as milestones for 2026. Ship 39 clearly shows the docking studs on the outside. It is planned into this mixed design. Theoretically, SpaceX could start testing this hardware on flights 13 and 40. As soon as one has made it up and down, SpaceX can send two and start the fuel transfer. The big question then is if it works right away. SpaceX has extensive knowledge of how to dock spacecraft in space. Crew Dragon has given them all the data for years. On top of that, docking two of your own spacecraft together in orbit is easier than docking something to the ISS, which SpaceX didn't build. But that's all pure speculation. 2026 will be interesting to see play out. And lastly, there is HLS. Somewhere inside the Star Factory lies the answer. SpaceX has been very good at keeping the secret. Besides multiple presentations of real and 3D rendered things, there is nothing yet. And we can't really find out either. We'll have to wait patiently. Oh, yeah. This reminds me that there is something else I want to tell you about. News can be quite overwhelming. And when it comes to space, the story is always connected to more than just launches. It's funding, global politics, supply chains, and even scientific breakthroughs happening worldwide. It really never is just one headline. Meet Sift. It is the world's first AI-native news agent and today's sponsor. It's incredibly easy to use and it is free. Type in the exact topic you care about, let's say Booster 18 and the related Starship version 3. Sift will analyze the news on that topic all across the world in every language and summarize what you care about most. This is how you can get the bigger picture. And then there is the sidebar. All the topics you love are added here. You will automatically get summaries on the most important news on those topics. It's not hard to guess what my favorite topics are. If you like what you see in the digests, you can go deeper with just a simple click. It helps to get a good overview and understand how things are connected. Best of all, it's free to download on both Android and Apple devices. A web version is also available at sift.ai. To get started, search for and download Sift AI News Agent on the App Store or Google Play today and stay on top of the news that you care about. If you want to help us make even better content, hit the subscribe button to stay informed. Like this video if it brought you value and become a Y supporter for extra content. Chat with me and gain more insights on the topic you love. Thank you very much. What's the blocker for Starship? If SpaceX still wants to do at least one test flight before they take crew to the lunar surface with it, that also needs to happen in 2026. HLS isn't just tied to Starbase though. It is such a big project with dozens of launches involved that it will need more than that. On the last episode, I gave you the banger at the end. Slick 37 received its final review, and everything is go for SpaceX to start stacking Mechazillas in yet another location, the third one. Besides Starbase's Pad 2 and Kennedy Space Center's Pad 39A, a third location will receive 2 new towers at the same time. Construction is underway, and we should expect launches from here to happen within the next year. Maybe even faster. My idea right now is that we'll see see most of the orbital refueling and docking test launches happening from both Starbase and Cape Canaveral at the same time. One will launch at Starbase and another from Florida will join it to perform refueling tests in space. Pad 39A is much further along than Pad 1, the original Starship pad at Starbase. It's just seen its last launch in October and is now in the process of being upgraded. SpaceX has just begun disassembling the Deluge water system, one of the last remaining parts of Pad 1 infrastructure. Everything will be ripped out and rebuilt, unified with Pad 2 and streamlined. But it's behind 39A in its construction schedule. So if SpaceX does want to launch from 2 Starship pads for orbital refueling tests, they'll need to launch from both Texas and Florida. And Florida isn't just ahead when it comes to the second pad, they are also ahead with their Gigabay. Easy to see when taking a look at the progress at both sites. While Starbase is busy fleshing out the first level, Florida has it covered and is already working on level 2. It's so large at this point that it's easily visible from Titusville across the Indian River. All 4 cranes on both sides are working day and night. Both Gigabays are essential for version 3 progress. After all, that's the only place where they can even be assembled. In the last episode, I asked you to put your precise launch date estimate in the comments. I didn't ask for a range. I asked for a date and you provided it. February 14th seems to be a favorite, but we have everything from before Christmas to June 2026. We'll see who nailed the date. Quick reminder, if you want to see how SpaceX is doing from the air with your own eyes, go to redlineheli.com/Felix, $25 off for anyone using the link. The Redline helicopter team is waiting for you. They'll show you the same Starbase views our photographer gets on his Starbase flights, unforgettable stuff. So that's SpaceX, the company known for reusable rockets. Now, after Blue Origin's New Glenn, a third contender for reusability is working on the holy grail of rockets, and they are almost there. On Wednesday, Landspace, a Chinese aerospace company, conducted a demonstration flight of its partially reusable rocket, Zhu-Que 3Y1. The rocket lifted off at 12:02 p.m. local time from the Zhoushan Satellite Launch Center. The 9 TQ-12A methane-oxygen engines performed nominally through ascent and stage separation, with the second stage successfully delivering its payload to orbit on the maiden flight. So far so good, but the real highlight was still to come. First stage return and landing, and this is where the good news stopped, unfortunately. The first stage executed its re-entry burn and descended toward the dedicated landing pad. It is located 390 kilometers downrange in the Gansu province. Approximately 8 minutes after liftoff, as the booster performed its landing burn, it suffered what was described as an abnormal combustion event. And we also know the consequence of such events by another name: a RUD, or Rapid Unscheduled Disassembly. Engine-rich exhaust is another good one. The booster experienced an engine anomaly and subsequently caught fire and lost control. In this footage, you can see the booster catching fire mid-descent before crashing remarkably close to the intended target. Fortunately, there were no reported injuries. Despite the fiery end of Zhu-Que 3's first stage, the test still can be counted as a huge success. The rocket successfully performed its primary mission. Its payload was delivered into the desired orbit, stage separation and the boost back burn worked as intended. During the coast phase, the booster was stable and on track toward the landing pad before suffering a RUD. This is comparable to NG-1, Blue Origin's first launch of its New Glenn rocket. It also delivered its payload flawlessly, but the booster failed to perform a soft landing. And we all know what happened then. Just one flight on, NG-2 successfully performed this maneuver. Landscape's Zhu-Que 3, the 66-meter-tall stainless steel rocket, has a similar design to a Starship, but with Falcon legs while being a lot smaller. This first test flight has very likely produced a ton of valuable data that will help Landspace understand what went wrong. And we can very likely expect to see a new test candidate soon that is poised to make China the second nation to master rocket booster returns. Let's move on to NASA. It looks like we might see a new personality at the agency's helm soon. Months after abruptly withdrawing his initial nomination in May, President Donald Trump has renominated billionaire entrepreneur Jarred Isaacman to lead NASA. That's like Groundhog Day or something. The support for Isaacman is growing, and now 36 former NASA astronauts have written a letter to Ted Cruz and Maria Cantwell, both members of the deciding Senate committee. A swift confirmation of Jarred as the next NASA administrator is the goal of those signing the letter. They expressed their deep concern about the agency's future. as I did.
This time I'm here with a message of urgency.
In their own words, it is crucial that we have a NASA administrator who champions and delivers the kind of revolutionary advancements in space that only NASA can achieve, while also fully leveraging the capabilities and opportunities presented by a rapidly advancing commercial space sector and the steady international support from our partner nations. The former astronaut stated that Isaacman has genuine passion for space exploration and will bring renewed energy and sense of purpose to NASA. Isaacman commanded the Inspiration 4 mission in 2021 and led Polaris Dawn in 2024, becoming the first private citizen to perform a spacewalk. His love of the aerospace sector also shows in the fact that he is flight qualified in multiple military jet aircraft and has logged over 7,000 flight hours. And this is also where he received his call sign Rook. If confirmed, Isaacman would take over from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who has served as interim administrator since July. With Artemis 2 quickly approaching and the next crewed moon landing on the horizon, a dedicated administrator is needed to get NASA back on a steady path toward the agency's goal. Let's go, Rook, you have my support and you certainly rock. At a meeting in Bremen, Germany, ESA announced that NASA will help Europe with launching its long-delayed ExoMars Rosalind Franklin rover. Wow. This came as a bit of a positive surprise after President Trump's proposed budget cuts previously eliminated this collaboration. ESA Director Josef Aschbacher made it clear that this is not just an informal expression of intent. NASA has provided a written confirmation regarding contributions to the ExoMars Rosalind Franklin rover. The agency will now provide all of the 3 previously committed elements. These are a rocket for the transport to the Red Planet, a heating system powered by radioisotopes to protect from the Martian cold, and retro rockets that are used during the landing sequence. ExoMars Rosalind Franklin is a 300-kilogram rover featuring a 2-meter-long drill that is designed to search for signs of life deep under Mars's radiation-battered surface. Since radiation is a key factor in eliminating traces of life that once might have existed here, digging deeper is the best opportunity to find any remnants of ancient Martian life forms. The mission, even though widely accepted as valuable and promising in the scientific community, has faced repeated setbacks since its conception in the early 2000s. That wasn't me saying something wrong, it was early 2000s. In 2012, after Obama-era budget cuts, NASA withdrew from the project. This in turn forced Europe to seek cooperation with Russia. The tide turned once again in 2022 when ESA severed its ties with Roscosmos due to Russia's invasion into Ukraine. This opened the door for NASA to return to the project. And the agency has already delivered the Mars Organic Molecule Analyzer Mass Spectrometer, a scientific tool that is designed to detect organic materials in the drilled core samples. The spectrometer is already in Europe and is currently undergoing integration and testing. Actually, I stood in front of a copy of ExoMars 5 years ago. The earliest launch date for the mission is in 2028, but both ESA and NASA recognize that it might take longer to prepare the mission, so that it might get pushed into the next Mars transfer window 2 years later in 2030. That's only 30 years after they started developing the mission. A first batch of scientific data can be expected shortly after touchdown, and from this point on we can expect a plethora of data that will be gathered by the Rosalind Franklin rover for years. So even though late, it is a really promising mission. From the red surface of Mars, let's head closer to home. If humanity wants to establish a permanent outpost on the Moon, on Mars, and later other moons and planets, we need truly autonomous systems. This includes flexible and autonomous construction machinery and self-repairing robots. I mean, have you ever seen a vehicle changing its own tires? Robotics startup Guidry, or Guidry, has recently shared this intriguing footage of a rover that is performing just that, all by itself. The tool that makes this possible is an articulated robotic arm. Extending almost 2 meters, this 50-kilogram arm is an incredibly versatile tool. This arm can walk. I mean, sounds strange, I know, but have a look at this. Both sides have what is called grapple end effectors. These can not only be used to attach an array of tools, they can also be used to attach to mounting points that can be mounted on surfaces, for example on space stations, spacecraft, or buildings, creating a walking path for the robot. Using such mounting points on parts and containers make it easy to be handled by the robotic arm. The effectors can even connect to the effectors on a second arm to form an even more versatile unit that has twice the reach and twice the number of joints. Granted, the overall idea is not new. The Shuttle Remote Manipulator System, better known as Canadarm, was developed and constructed by Spar Aerospace as Canada's part in the shuttle program. Design work began in 1975 and the first Canadarm was delivered to NASA in April 1981. While the shuttle's Canadarm and later models for use on the ISS already had many features we now see on Guidry's system, the new arm is a vastly improved version. It's lighter, faster, more powerful, and cheaper. Testing in space began all the way back in 2021 inside the ISS, followed by a technology demonstration on the outside of the International Space Station on the Nanoracks Bishop airlock in 2024. For this test, Guidry used its S2 model, a dual robotic arm system. It was able to confirm flawless operation while using tools and handling materials. Another test segment demonstrated the system's endurance. How many push-ups can it do? The company's portfolio also features lunar rovers. These focus on the use as construction machinery and are also outfitted with modular robotic arms. Their ability to use an array of different tools makes them flexible and adaptable to a wide variety of tasks. Combining the stability of a wheel-based platform with the capabilities of robotic arms is a practical option, and we are likely to first see rolling robots on the moon before we see walking ones. Robotic arms, on the other hand, have already proven their worth in a huge range of applications. After all, they have been in use in countless factories all over the world for decades now. The innovation lies in improved building materials and flexible software. JAXA also trusts in robotics for their future vehicles. In March, Japan's state-run space agency awarded Guidry a contract for a concept study of a robotic arm for a crewed pressurized lunar rover. Welcome back to the Y Countdown, your rapid-fire look behind the curtain at everything that keeps this channel blasting off. Thanks to all those who participated in Tuesday's Y Countdown. Today it's all about topic selection. I've been called a SpaceX fanboy before, but that's not the whole story. When I sit down to pick topics, I select them by importance or by value. Pollen's Perun from the last episode is a perfect example of close to my heart topics, and Starship is an excellent example of importance. SpaceX dominates the market, so much of what I discuss will naturally focus on SpaceX. If you have topic ideas for me, please do write them in a comment. I always read as many as I can. When this community locks arms, nothing is out of reach. Thanks for being our rocket fuel. We're all in this mission together. And that's it for today. Smash the like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm, and this is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. Our brand new Raptor emblem design and countless others are there for you to explore. Click the card or the US or worldwide link in the description, and there might be a Christmas sale too. And if you want to see the episode I referenced at the beginning to learn more about SpaceX design rationale, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode.